Time for a business update now with Stephen Carroll, who's going to be starting us off in the United States. Yahoo, it seems, Stephen, has sweetened its takeover deal.
The company slashed the price of its internet business by $350 million after two massive security breaches affected more than 1 billion of its users. Telecoms firm Verizon was in talks to buy the business before the hacks were revealed. It's now set to go ahead with the purchase with a price tag of just under $4.5 billion. Under the revised term of the deal, Yahoo will continue to cover the costs of shareholder lawsuits and an investigation by the stock market regulator in the United States, but other investigations and the costs stemming from those will be covered jointly by Yahoo and Verizon.
Right, a story now from Austria. Now, the government there has introduced some new hiring rules, and the idea is to give preference to people who are already living in Austria.
The measure was approved by Austria's government on Tuesday. They'll give companies a payroll tax cut for hiring people who are already resident in the country. Vienna says it's an effort to curb unemployment, but it could fall foul of the EU's freedom of movement rules. Shar Pellegrin reports.
It's a first in the EU. Austria wants to give priority to local workers by offering tax cuts to businesses. Non-wage labor costs would be halved for 3 years to encourage hiring unemployed people or employees currently in training for a new job who are either Austrian or foreigners already living in Austria. If the hiring happens elsewhere in Europe, this incentive won't apply. The government says this doesn't breach the EU principle of the free movement of persons.
This is completely in harmony with our European ideas.
We believe we should be able to decide what happens on our labor market.
Unemployment is fairly low in Austria, sitting just under 6%. But the government says that between 2013 and 2015, it was mostly non-EU and EU foreigners who were hired. Austrians, meanwhile, lost over 26,000 jobs. That's why unions support the new hiring incentive.
It's clear that Eastern European countries like Hungary, the Czech Republic, Romania and others export their unemployment over here. If nothing's done, it's clear that people who've been out of work for a long time won't ever have a chance to find a job.
The government hopes to create 160,000 jobs for a cost of 2 billion euros.
Let's take a look at what's happening on the markets for you next. European shares opening in the green, gains across London, Paris and Frankfurt. In London, the bank Lloyds up by more than 4% at the open after news that its profit more than doubled last year. Over in Asia, gains on many markets as well, following on from solid earning figures we'd seen on Wall Street and in Europe on Tuesday. The Hang Seng in Hong Kong leading the gains there, as you can see, up by almost 1%. Just the Nikkei in Tokyo seeing slight falls there. Moving on with a look at some more of the day's business headlines for you. Airbus has taken another hit in its earnings over its troubled A400M military transport plane. It brings the total write-downs over the programme to 2.2 billion euros for last year. Overall, Airbus earned just under 4 billion euros before tax in 2016, more than it had been expecting, but down around 100 million from 2015. The French hotel group Accor saw operating profits rise by almost 5% last year, despite the fall in tourists visiting France. The company, which owns brands including Ibis and Mercure, saw revenue growth slow to 2.2%. In France, it was down by nearly 3%. These results come as the firm announced former French President Nicolas Sarkozy would be joining its board as an independent director. India's Reliance Industries is to start charging mobile users for data services from April. That follows 6 months of free use offered by its telecom brand Jio. The company has been leading a price war among Indian mobile operators, causing its rivals heavy losses.
All right, one final story for our business news then. How apt could this be? We're talking about Ireland, where Stephen is from, and Champagne, which is from France, where we are. It seems in Ireland,
I thought you were going somewhere else with that there for a second.
Champagne, which Stephen has an opinion on, I'm sure, is back on the menu in Ireland.
Yes, the Ireland Central Statistics Office has updated the basket of consumer goods that it uses to measure inflation. Champagne is making a return to the list 5 years after it was removed. Ireland, of course, was forced into a bailout in 2010 after its banking sector collapsed. This update, the CSO's basket of goods, happens every 5 years. Other new additions include e-readers, online streaming services, avocados and sweet potatoes.
Love an avocado and a sweet potato. That's made me very happy. Thanks very much. Stephen Carroll, our business editor.